Christian Horner has been sacked by Red Bull.
He got sacked basically from the, let's say, the mother company from Austria, Red Bull GmbH. I think the results speak for themselves. I think they have the best driver that has ever driven a Formula One car. And if he's not able anymore to win races, that's a problem.
Dutch journalist Jackie Martens broke the story. Horner's been in charge of Red Bull for over 20 years, leading them to 6 Constructors and 8 Drivers' Championships. talkSPORT's F1 correspondent John Jackson explains it comes a year after he was involved in a texting scandal with a female colleague.
He's been incredibly successful at the top of his game, but obviously there were these allegations that were made which were not upheld by an independent investigation, of his conduct. And there were rumours that, he would maybe not survive that back then. So he has lasted a little bit longer than a lot of people would have thought.
Laurent Mekies, who was in charge of racing bulls, will replace him. Now, after spending over $1 billion on players since Todd Boehly took over, have Chelsea finally signed a proper striker? João Pedro's 2 stunners against his former club, Fluminense, in the Club World Cup fired them into the final. Former Chelsea defender Mario Melchior reckons he's got the aura of a big-time player.
What I like about Pedro was his confidence. If you saw one of the first interviews that he had when he was a Chelsea player, you could see the smile and the confidence that he was boosting in himself and saying, like, I can do the job.
The Lionesses might be just one game into their European title defence, but it's pretty much win or go home against the Netherlands, live on talkSPORT, with coverage beginning from 4 p.m. today. Former Lioness and talkSPORT commentator Tash Dowie wants bold changes from Wiegman, but doesn't think it's going to happen.
In my opinion, I would love to see Serena Wiegman go 4-4-2, put Beaver Jones up front with Russo. I thought she was isolated the other day. The Dutch don't have the pace that the French do as well, so you don't have to worry about that pace in behind or the counter-attack. So I would love to see her more positive, bring in a Grace Clinton as well into that midfield to give that little bit of bite, maybe a Chloe Kelly. She has that aggression. But yeah, we need to be 100% better, otherwise we will be going home.
For more on these stories, head to talksport.com.
This is Paul Hawksbee and Charlie Baker with you through until 4 here on talkSPORT. Where this afternoon? Charlie, please tell us what's coming up.
Coming up over the next 3 hours, former Lion Ben Kay gives us his verdict on this morning's warm-up game against the Brumbies. We'll preview a big evening for England and Wales at Euro 2025, and we'll get reaction to Christian Horner's sock shacking
yes.
could have been worse, at Red Bull.
It could have been. Charlie's choice today is It's Come to This. Plus, I pulled out a poo bag.
That's yours, that's not mine.
No.
Don't throw me under the bus for that one, thank you.
Tim Vickery brings us the latest from South America, and it's episode 2 of the pH test.
pH test, there's all this, plus Steve Harmison on the return of Jofra Archer to the England test team.
Yeah.
All the latest transfer news, and Troy Deeney joins us live from New York for a Club World Cup update.
Yeah.
There it is.
The words aren't coming out today
Not quite,
so far.
not quite, Paul. But
You'll warm up. You'll
we'll
warm
get there
up
in the end.
By 4 o'clock, you'll be fine.
Of course. I'll be good at 4 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You should hear the show after this. I'll be amazing.
It is 5 minutes past 1. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Charlie.
Afternoon, Paul. Off yesterday, and it's a Wednesday. No one must think it's a Tuesday.
No.
Had school sports day.
Ah.
How you have to go and see your kids. You have to go and see your kids at sports day.
Yeah.
So when they're in their teens or early 20s, they can't write angsty poetry about you.
Yeah.
They never turned up for
Dad
sports
was never
day.
there.
Dad was. I looked up. I won the trophy. I looked up, and he wasn't there.
Yeah.
You know, and that affects the rest of their life, doesn't it? You know.
But it gets to a point where they don't want you there because you're an embarrassment.
Well, this is the thing. So
Yeah.
I'm just riding it until I'm told, "Don't come, Dad. You're embarrassing."
Yeah.
No, why are you here? Why are you wearing that for?
You didn't compete?
Didn't compete, Paul.
Was there a dad's race?
There was a dad's race. There's quite a lot. I'm quite an old dad in my year.
Really? Are you?
In primary school, quite an old dad.
Okay.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of younger dads. That's not the reason. I'll always give it a go. But I got bad toe. You know, my toe goes 2 or 3 times a year, Paul.
Got a bad toe.
Well, I've got a
Did you
bad
give
toe.
a note to the sports teacher? I hope you did.
I have got a bad toe, and I
Yeah.
know in the past you don't believe the bad toe. You think
Yeah, it's just a bit of. Is it gout?
It's not gout. Everyone always says, "Is it gout?" It's not gout.
Yeah.
It's not gout.
It's not gout. It's not gout. It's gout.
It's
gout. Yeah. It's a bit like
it's
that runner.
arthritis, Paul. I've got an arthritic big toe
Oh.
that flares up now and again. I had a game of tennis on Friday night and lost and was run all over the court. And I woke
Really?
up Saturday morning, my toe.
This was an actual club match.
league game, yeah.
League game.
Oh, no, cup game, yeah.
Ah.
Lost, knocked out first round. Disastrous.
Wow, out the cup.
I know,
It's
the
like
cup,
Torquay, isn't it?
It's unbelievable.
You can concentrate on the league now, can't you?
Concentrate on the league,
Yeah.
Exactly. Anyway,
Was this a younger, fitter person than you?
it was a younger by 8 years and fitter person.
And a man with a good toe.
Yeah, good toe.
Two good
My
toes.
toe wasn't gone Friday night, but it goes. It goes and then
10
it sort
good toes, yeah.
Anyway, so I couldn't run yesterday, but this is what I wanted to do on the text topic.
Yeah, it's come to this.
For my arthritic toe,
Yeah.
I have bought some slippers that you
Yeah.
put in the freezer.
Really?
Frozen slippers. Not.
Are you-
Let it go.
Are you supposed to? Are you supposed to do this?
Yeah. Apparently, I was googling it.
Frozen slippers. Have
Frozen.
Have they got Elsa on the front? Have they got a little,
None of that.
little
None
picture
of
of
that.
Elsa?
I don't want to build a snowman. In
Yeah, fair enough.
The other joke you can do about frozen slippers is I was going to buy a pair, but I got cold feet.
Hey. That's
It's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, these frozen slippers.
What do you? So you put them in the freezer?
My wife, they turned up. My wife thought, oh,
See, the
you've
age
been
group.
buying again.
The age group that they're aimed at
Yeah.
are the very people that would normally put their slippers in the freezer.
In the freezer. I didn't know
But
they'd
then
done
not
it.
find them till their daughter comes round the following morning and says, "Dad, your slippers are in the freezer." Oh, why did I do
Yeah.
that? I've got no idea. I've got a couple of lamb chops on my feet. That could have something to do with it. Yeah.
I've got some mints on my feet.
Yeah.
Frozen slippers, Paul.
Oh,
And
mate.
I tell you what, though, they are good.
Are they?
I highly recommend.
Yeah.
If people are listening
Slipping into a cold slipper in the morning.
of an evening,
Of an evening.
end of a day,
Yeah.
put your feet in these frozen slippers. Whoa!
Do they get wet as they thaw
No,
out?
they're not wet. No, because they're
What are they made of?
They're like that.
Sorry, you
gel.
are listening to Talk Sport, by the way.
This is.
We've had the Lions. We've got the Lionesses. We've got Christian
I
Horner's
tell
been
you what,
sacked.
if the Lions came off now and they have had a hot old match,
Yeah, well, they would have done.
get those feet in some frozen. It's cold therapy, you know. It's like
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
into a cold bath.
Yeah.
Anyway, they've worked. It's gone.
The toe's better.
It's got toes
What,
better.
I mean, it's fallen off with frostbite.
It's got.
You did a run off, went down the
It's
shed,
like Shackleton down there.
sawed it off with like Ranulph Fiennes. Went black and fell off.
I think I got no feet. No, really, really good, Paul.
So
but I did sit there thinking,
Yeah.
it's come to this.
Did you find were they advertising the back of the Express? Were they with the indestructible trousers?
Next to the massive 2-footed slipper.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
um,
I've gone in 2-footed on that slipper.
So you felt the Roy Keane slipper. Alfie Harlan recommends nothing else. So so you bought the slipper? You
Bought the slippers, but I did think I used to be cool.
Yeah. I used to be a
I used to
contender.
be really cool.
And now, well, you
Here I
still
am,
are in those
sat
slippers.
sat in frozen slippers till my arthritic toe goes down.
So it's come to this.
It's
folks.
come to this.
Those little moments in life where you thought, man, it's come to this.
It's come to this.
We've all been there, haven't
We've all
we?
been there, Paul. It happens
Similar
to all
thing.
of us. Yeah.
I went to get something out. I was sitting in the office with Charlie a little bit earlier. I went to get something out of my back pocket. For everybody watching, so I went in my back pocket. Thought, what's that? course it is.
Poo
It's a poo bag. It's a dog poo bag. Because if you've got a dog, there's always one on your person.
You've always got one.
You think you've got everything out of your pockets.
Yeah.
And there's still one hanging about.
There's always one.
And they can pop up in the unlikeliest places, even like a suit you've not worn for years. Because you get in from wherever you've been, and the dog wants to go for a walk. So you take the dog out in your suit, half cut, and you're weaving down the street.
You've been to a wake. Yeah. One of the two.
And then you get the suit out a few months later. Going to the top pocket thinking, is that my handkerchief? Is that me square?
Might be a tenner.
Little black poo bag in there. So we're looking for, it's come to this, those little moments in life you thought, oh no, God, I'm wearing
And I pulled out a poo bag. Was it that what you wanted to do as well?
I pulled out a poo bag. That's all part of our quite hard-hitting sports news agenda today. But I mean, there's so much going on in sport. This is the fluff. We can afford this because there's stuff going on in F1. There's stuff going on in rugby. There's stuff going on in cricket.
All sorts.
We've got three massive football matches for you this evening. In the Club World Cup, we'll see if Chelsea are playing in the final, Real Madrid or PSG. That's live from 8. On talkSPORT 2, we've got Wales v France. Wales looking to get some points to stay in the tournament against the team that beat England in the first game, of course. And at 5 o'clock on talkSPORT, no drive today because we're going to bring that game live. It's England versus the Netherlands. Again, England have got to get something from this game. Ideally, they need the 3 points.
Left it too late the other day.
Jofra Archer is back in the England Test squad for the first time in 4 years. Steve Harmison, former England fast bowler, is going to be joining us to give us his take on that. We'll hear from the skipper, Ben Stokes, talking about Jofra and the decision to start him from the off at Lord's tomorrow. We've had the Lions performing this morning, should I say, and they've had a win against the Brumbies.
Not a great win, I will say, but I think as they get to the test, they must start to sort of pull back a little bit. I don't know if that's how it works.
I mean, the thing is the same. Well, I talked to Ben about it, but it seems to have been the same pattern. You know, you've got a different team most games, and it takes them a while to get a bit of rhythm. But when they do look pretty good, and they scored some good tries. But as did Brumbies, to be fair. So we'll talk to Ben. Any red flags from his point of view? What he liked, what he didn't. He was on commentary duty with Andrew McKenna over on talkSPORT 2 because the only place you can hear live commentary of the Lions is on the talkSPORT network over in Australia. But the other big story of the day is Christian Horner sacked by Red Bull after 20 years and many trophies and victories. But there's been a lot going on behind the scenes. James Allen from Motorsport will be joining us to talk about that and look at some of the reasons why they've made the decision now. Apparently from Christian Horner's friends who have been saying it came out of the blue. He certainly wasn't expecting it. So we'll be catching up with James Allen a little bit later on. All the latest transfer news. Comedian Newcastle fan Kai Humphries will join us. I think he's getting a bit jollier as they start doing some business. All manner of other stuff. The pH test is back. Charlie's little brain
National League fixtures are out, Paul. I know we're going about a break talk. You've got Enfield at home on the first day of the season. Very good. But the Truro went up from the National League South last year.
Yeah.
They've got Gateshead away, which is a 930-mile round trip. And it's on the 25th of October, nicely in the middle of winter, Paul. So it's going to be lovely.
It's not an evening game, is it?
It won't be an evening game. No. It'll probably be a Saturday afternoon. Yeah. There we are. Well, good luck. I remember
years ago, there was a bunch of Darlington fans who came down to Torquay for like a Freight Rover trophy game on a Wednesday or a Tuesday.
The dream.
Darlow to Torquay on a Tuesday night for a Freight Rover. Yeah. That's the hard
commitment.
That is commitment. They all deserve a medal. I deserved a footballing medal. Maybe
that's pretty good.
Amongst all the fluff of poo bags and
958 miles.
Frozen slippers. I deserved a footballing medal. If you want a mention in dispatches, tell us about the journeys you undertook. I think it has to be long journey, pretty low-key game. I mean, obviously.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we're looking for that this afternoon as well.
Pete in Edinburgh says that Charlie's choice today should be It Went Black and Fell Off.
Yeah.
Why not?
That normally involves an elastic band, doesn't it, really? talksport.com, text 81089, tweet TSH and J, 03717223344. Lions winning against Brumbies earlier on today. Ben Kay on commentary duty, as we said, with Andrew McKenna this morning for us on talkSPORT. Former Lion, England World Cup winner, will reflect on the performance. We're here with our good friends at Tool Station, delivering as little as 30 minutes with Fast Track. Next stop, Tool Station.
He plays that villain role very well now. It's crying out for a little bit more attention. It comes with a lot of crazy people. I took it personally and it kind of made me rebel a bit more. To be honest, I don't really care anymore. I'm never going to change.
Again they go to Itoje. Drive is immediate from the forwards. This is going to be up and over the line. Now can they get it down and show the referee this time? He's running around in circles and he's given it. And Van der Fleer does have his 5-pointer. Pick and go around the edge and a try is scored. Brumbies get there and it's the replacement hooker, Liam Barron, who's got there. And the Brumbies have their 4th try of the evening, 22-36.
Yes, that's the way it finished in Canberra. Lions 36, Brumbies 24.
Yeah.
Alongside Andrew McKenna on commentary duty was former British and Irish Lion and England World Cup winner Ben Kay, who joins us now. Hi, Ben.
Hi, Ben.
Hi, guys.
So, what was your take on it today? What did you make of the performance?
Just a little bit flat, really. Obviously, the Lions had 3 tries chalked off by the referee, so the scoreline could have flattered them slightly more, but actually it was probably a fair result, and plenty for the Lions to work on. They need to be better, but in some respects, it's better to not have an easy run to the test matches and coast and then suddenly come into an arm wrestle game where you need to fight your way out of it. So there's plenty for them to go away and analyse and get better. I don't think they'll be overly disappointed. They'll realise it's not a good performance, but they'll be quite confident that they can put things right ahead of Australia.
Let's look for a few positives then. Who impressed you today?
Look, I think Jameson Gibson-Park, I think he was given the official man of the match. He did look good at times. He was under a massive amount of pressure because the Brumbies were allowed to get away with all sorts at the breakdown. I thought Chesham played well at 6, and that was sort of maybe one of the contentious selections ahead of the test match, whether he'd keep him in the back row rather than moving him to the second row. I thought that worked for them today. And then Gary Ringrose was the other one that stood out for me. A couple of good breaks, but there were a couple of players that didn't play so well, and then a really serious injury worry, Blair Kinghorn, who is crucial at fullback and certainly looked very, very disappointed after the game with his knee injury.
As we get towards the tests, do people start to play with a bit of I don't want to get injured in my head, or is that the way to get injured?
I think you're right. That is the way to get injured. I don't think that's an issue at all, particularly having been picked in the side that looks, for all intents and purposes, like the test team. So I don't think that would have been an issue today. I just think they were. The referee let the Brumbies get away with a lot, and it almost put the Lions off their game and off their rhythm more than it should have. So again, a good thing that's happened now rather than when they get to the first test against Australia.
Who was the referee today?
Pierre Brousset, who's a Frenchman. So he seemed to be very hot on players going off their feet early on, but then once the rudder was formed, you could do whatever you wanted. So Macca asked me about whether the Lions should have been policing it themselves. Unfortunately, a lot of the old policing that used to go on with boots and fists doesn't happen anymore because there's too many camera angles. So only so much you can do.
You hit on something there, because it strikes me that more than any other sort of team sport that the referee has a big part to play, because they all have their different styles. And I'm looking at the 6 that are there. Ben O'Keefe, the Kiwi, Andrea Piardi of Italy, a couple of 3 Kiwis, a Frenchman, a Georgian and an Italian. They're all involved. And sometimes they all completely interpret the game in a different way, even though they're carrying out the laws of the same game.
Yeah, one of the things that's probably most prevalent is they all have things that they tend to be really hot on, and it's about learning what those are early on in a game. They'll do their analysis as much as they do on the opposition before the game, knowing what sort of referees they are. But then in the game, if there's something that the referee's being really hot on, learn and stop doing it. Otherwise, you're just going to annoy him, and every 50-50 decision is going to go against you.
Do we know who's going to get the tests refereeing-wise already?
Yeah, we do. They've got Nika Amashakeli, who is a Georgian, who the players actually quite like. He's he's very much a referee that lets the game flow. Macca's alongside me now. He's
so Ben O'Keefe, the Kiwi, has got the first test, and then Nika Amashakeli and Andrea Piardi, the Frenchman and the Georgian. So 2 European referees. Ben O'Keefe, the Southern Hemisphere referee, gets the first test in Brisbane.
Okay. And you'd expect a bit of variation between the three of those, Ben, I take it.
Particularly, I mean, I guess it's an advantage for the Lions that 2 of them are Northern Hemisphere referees that they'll have seen a lot of at Six Nations and things. But actually, when you get to test level, you tend to see, you get the guys coming up from the Southern Hemisphere to referee a couple of the Six Nations games as well. So, as I said, the analysts will do as much work on the referee as they will on the opposition to try and work out where they have to stay the right side, because a lot of it is building a rapport with him in the first 10 minutes.
Any test players in the Brumbies, and how did they look?
Not really. There are players that have played for the Wallabies, but with it being so close, and obviously the Wallabies had Fiji at the weekend as their only warm-up game. So no, this was a Brumbies team really shorn of their 6 likely Wallabies. So there was nothing on show there, but there were players that have played at that level, and then there were players that were just typically Australian. So there was a guy that came off the bench called Reimer, and he made an absolute mess of the Lions breakdown. So that's the sort of thing that you tend to expect with the greats of Australian back row play, that they are a nightmare at the breakdown. That's what the Lions are going to have to be better doing.
Would you expect, Ben, a little bit more cohesion at this stage? You sound a bit concerned.
I'm a little bit, but as I said, I don't think the players will be. I think they'll know what they need to do to sort it out. And as I said, 3 tries chalked off. If they're given, probably people sort of who haven't watched the game looking in the papers will go, oh, the Lions have coasted that. It certainly wasn't a coasting, but at no time did you really feel like the Lions were under serious threat. There were a couple of hesitations early on, and sometimes I guess when you're a team that's just together, if a couple of those passes stick, suddenly everything clicks into place, and that's what the Lions over the last couple of games have sort of lacked. A couple of mistakes early on, and they haven't been able to put them behind them.
So just one more warm-up game against an invitational Australia and New Zealand 15. I mean, what sort of opposition can we expect in that?
Well, good, because it'll be the best of, from an Australian perspective, the best of the players that they've already played against in the provincial games, coupled with some fairly big-name New Zealand players that are coming into there. Now, they'll face the same problem of the Lions, which the provincial sides haven't, that they're a scratch side that's been thrown together. So, but equally, there's absolutely no pressure on them. So you've got high-level players, just a little bit like the Barbarians, being able to go out, enjoy themselves, throw risky passes with no real consequences if it goes wrong. But I don't think we'll see many of the Lions players that will feature in the first test. Obviously, the players that might come into it in the second and third test, but I'm pretty sure that Andy Farrell will be keeping his powder dry now and trying to wrap some of these players up in cotton wool.
So in those last in that last warm-up game, you tend to see maybe some of those players that we're fighing to get on the bench. And,
exactly that.
Might see Owen Farrell.
I 100% will see Owen Farrell in that game, I think. And you have to keep these players engaged. And one of the toughest challenges, I guess, as a Lions player is if you are clearly looking like you're going to be a part of the midweek team and not necessarily part of the tests, is staying on tour and staying in the fight. And I think that's one of the reasons Owen Farrell's been brought out, because he drives those standards. So he will be making sure that all those players that are carrying a little bit of disappointment in the next game absolutely 100% on their mettle, challenging for places, and then if there's an injury or someone doesn't perform in the first test, they can step right into the fold.
Excellent. Thank you, Ben and Macca. Thanks very much.
Ben.
Cheers, guys.
There we are. It's Ben Kay and Andrew McKenna, your commentary team this morning. One game left, as we said, before the first test on Saturday week. It's that invitation to Australia, New Zealand 15, and that's 11 o'clock on talkSPORT.
Yeah, I read that there's 300 test caps in that Australian-New Zealand combination side, which feels a lot.
It does. It does. But you'll hear it all unfold, build up from 10, kick off at 11 on Saturday. And then, of course, we'll bring you all the tests live and exclusive on talkSPORT. We're talking Lionesses, never mind Lions later on. Big game for England this evening will be in Switzerland, catch up with their own Adrian Durham and build up to that game. And Wales in action, of course, big game for them this evening. Both those games are on talkSPORT and talkSPORT 2, along with the Club World Cup second semi-final between Real Madrid and PSG. And Troy Deeney will join us from New York ahead of that a little bit later on in the show. But let's check in with Lisa O'Sullivan for the first time this afternoon at Wimbledon. Hi, Lisa.
Hiya, we've got the two remaining women's quarterfinals in action first because it's semi-finals day tomorrow, so they want to get out and back home as soon as possible. And we've got Ludmila Samsonova taking on Iga Świątek. She didn't know she was playing her until yesterday because she's told us she can't look at the draw or the results because then she can't think about anything else. So likes to bring her own game and play that on court. They are currently on serve, so Samsonova is about to serve 2-3. We will also see Mira Andreeva open up on centre court very shortly. Reportedly got a print of a tweet by Sir Andy Murray beside her bed. When she was 15, she spoke about seeing him in the flesh, saying he was beautiful. His response, which is now framed for posterity, apparently reads, "Imagine how good she'd be when she gets her eyes fixed." Well, she's getting better. She's 18, the 7th seed, and she's taking on Belinda Bencic, the Tokyo Olympic champion, for a place in the semi-finals.
Thanks very much, Lisa. We got some stuff to run past Lisa. You get these features around Wimbledon, and the Telegraph have gone for it today. How to smash a power cardigan like Carlos Alcaraz. So
the power cardigan.
The power cardigan.
That's nice.
We'll have a deep dive into that amongst some of the other, and the tech failing again.
Have you seen my power cardigan anywhere?
Yeah. Well, the good news is our team are working on getting who's responsible for the tech at Wimbledon.
The AI line.
We've got a few contacts apparently, so hopefully in the next half hour we can
get the big interview with them.
Interview. So stick around for that. But we're going to be talking F1. The big story today, of course, in Formula One is Christian Horner sacked by Red Bull after 20 years in the job. We'll be chatting to James Allen from motorsport.com and looking at some of the reasons behind it and where he may resurface, and indeed the future for the team and Max Verstappen and all manner of stuff that comes out of that decision today. That's after the news headlines.
Christian Horner has been sacked by Red Bull.
He got sacked basically from the, let's say, the mother company from Austria, Red Bull GmbH. I think the results speak for themselves. I think they have the best driver that has ever driven a Formula One car. And if he's not able anymore to win races, that's a problem.
Dutch journalist Jackie Martens broke the story. Horner's been in charge of Red Bull for over 20 years, leading them to 6 Constructors and 8 Drivers' Championships. talkSPORT's F1 correspondent John Jackson explains it comes a year after he was involved in a texting scandal with a female colleague.
He's been incredibly successful at the top of his game, but obviously there were these allegations that were made which were not upheld by an independent investigation, of his conduct. And there were rumours that, he would maybe not survive that back then. So he has lasted a little bit longer than a lot of people would have thought.
Laurent Mekies, who was in charge of racing bulls, will replace him. Now, after spending over $1 billion on players since Todd Boehly took over, have Chelsea finally signed a proper striker? João Pedro's 2 stunners against his former club, Fluminense, in the Club World Cup fired them into the final. The Lionesses might be just 1 game into their European title defence, but it's pretty much win or go home against the Netherlands, live on talkSPORT, with coverage beginning from 4 p.m. today. For more on these stories, head to talksport.com.
Hawksbee, Charlie Baker here on talkSPORT, and I think it's fair to say there's been a pretty turbulent 18 months or so at F1 team Red Bull, on and off the track, culminating today in the sacking of their team principal Christian Horner after 20 years in the job. He spoke to talkSPORT last year and was asked at the time if he could ever see himself working with another team on the grid.
Look, I've been here since the beginning. I've built the team. I feel a tremendous loyalty to the people that work here. So I couldn't imagine it being anywhere else.
Well, he's now going to have to contemplate that, of course. Yeah. Joining us now from motorsport.com, James Allen. Good afternoon, James.
Hello, James.
Hey, Paul. Hey, Charlie. How you doing?
Not too bad, thank you. It seems, despite everything that's been going on, on and off the track, he's been slightly blindsided by this. His friends have been saying this has come out of the blue. Is that what you feel as well, James?
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly in terms of the timing of it, I don't think anyone expected to sort of wake up on a Wednesday morning and have this in their in tray, least of all him. My information is he was told yesterday. The reason for the sacking is with immediate effect was the performance, obviously, not only of the car, but of the team generally, which has definitely come off its peak of recent years. It was a decision taken at board level by Red Bull. I think generally speaking, as you mentioned, the last 18 months have been quite turbulent. There have been a lot of high-profile departures, the big one obviously being Adrian Newey, greatest racing car designer in the history of the sport. Jonathan Wheatley, who was the sporting director, a kind of sergeant major, if you like, of the team that sort of ran it on the road. He's gone off to be the team boss of Sauber, and straight away he's had an impact. I mean, Nico Hülkenberg at the weekend got his first podium in his Formula One career and put Sauber on the podium at the British Grand Prix. So there's a lot of real talent has exited the Red Bull team over the last 18 months. Horner told the Thai owners a while back that he was the key to the sporting success. But I think what we've all learned in 2025 is that the real key to the sporting success is Max Verstappen.
Yes, and that relationship with Max Verstappen and his dad, Josh, of course, has not always been that rosy, has it?
That's putting it mildly. I think that's probably one of your greatest understatements. That one, Paul. Particularly, not so much Max, but particularly his father, as you say. Yeah, they had a big row earlier in the year. My understanding is they had another big row on Sunday after the race in Silverstone. Yes, I think there is definitely a school of thought that the Verstappens have played their part in sort of impressing upon Red Bull that this team needs a change if it's going to save itself. Verstappen's contract runs for another 3 years, but there are escape clauses for him if he wanted to activate them. Whether or not, I think this year it may or may not be likely that the performance would be poor enough on his side that would trigger that. But the major rule change coming for next year. And I think it's more likely now that Verstappen will stay where he is into next year, have a look who's got the fastest car and engine, and being by some margin the best driver in Formula One right now, I think he can then take his pick for 2027 of whether he goes to Mercedes or he goes to Aston Martin, who will have Adrian Newey and Honda engines in 2026 and 27. So, Verstappen's definitely holding the cards now, that's for sure.
He's been there 20 years, so he's 51 now, so 31 to 51. That's quite a bit of your life's work, isn't it? But I would say he's overseen a period of time in Formula One where team bosses have become pretty front and centre. I don't think I could name before Ross Brawn, perhaps. I don't think I could name a team boss. So he's seen quite a big period in F1 history, isn't he?
That's a really good point, Charlie, and I think a lot of it's backed by success. He's won over 100 Grand Prix. He's won 8 Constructors World Championships, which is for the teams. Basically, that's where all the prize money comes from. It's not from the drivers' championship; it's the teams' championship that brings in the prize money. He's also won 8 drivers and 6 constructors championships. As I say, well over 100 wins. He is one of the most successful team principals in the sport's history, and 20 years is a long time. Nothing lasts forever, and I think the intriguing thing now is there were some rumours that John Elkann, who's the chairman of Ferrari, had been sounding him out about perhaps going across there to replace Fred Vasseur, who's struggling at the moment and is in the last year of his contract as Ferrari team principal. I think that move becomes more likely now with what's happened because Christian's got his pride, and also he'll be highly motivated to beat Red Bull now with the red car. So it's a tall order because it's a very different thing to go and live in Italy and run the Ferrari team, which is sort of very political and has many layers that simply weren't there in an entrepreneurial setup like at Red Bull Racing that he built himself. But he might fancy the challenge to work with Lewis Hamilton, to work with Charles Leclerc. If he wants to stay in Formula One at the cutting edge, and to your point, Charlie, he's a big star now around the world, thanks to Drive to Survive. Him and Toto Wolff and Zach Brown, they get mobbed when they arrive at a racetrack, just the same as the drivers do. So, does his ego say that it's time to walk away, or does his ego say, come on, we want to go out there and see if we can make Ferrari win again?
Do we know what the nature of this is? Is he going to get in a golden goodbye? So, is it maybe he can't get involved in another team for some time? I suppose we don't know the details of this split, do we yet, James?
We don't know the details, but if you're sacked with immediate effect, then there's probably some kind of confidentiality element to it that would mean that there's sort of limitations on all sides as to what they can actually say about it. But in terms of the non-compete, I don't know. I mean, normally these contracts have a sort of, it's a gardening leave type situation if you want to leave yourself. But if you get sacked, I wouldn't have thought it'd be too much trouble for Horner to start work at Ferrari in January if he was minded to do so and if the offer came from Ferrari. But I do know that Ferrari, as I say, have been, sounding him out about, because his track record speaks for itself.
They have appointed Lauren McKees, who was at the sister team Racing Bulls. I mean, is this seen as a sort of interim appointment, or has he got a tilt at getting the job long term?
No, I wouldn't have thought so. No, I mean, Laurent's a very experienced guy in his own right. He's been running Red Bull's B team, as you said. It's called Racing Bulls, and doing so pretty effectively. He knows the team, he knows the family. He grew up with that team as a young engineer. Then he went off to work first of all at the FIA, and then he went to Ferrari, where he was the sporting director. So he's an experienced and trusted pair of hands. He's an engineer by trade, and I think he'll shore things up definitely. But of course, the pressure will be much greater running a team like that. It's a bit like going from, managing sort of, no disrespect to the teams in the bottom half of the Premier League, but it's a bit like sort of going from managing sort of Crystal Palace or Fulham or something to managing Liverpool or Arsenal. It's that kind of step. And, some people take to it, as you know better than anybody, guys, and some people don't.
The timing is it's quite similar to when you sack a manager in football in the international window, because it's about 3 weeks or so, 2 and a bit weeks to Belgium. So they've got a little bit of time for the dust to settle. Max is not going to have to answer questions about it on Thursday. So it's got a bit of time to get out there and everything to bed down and everybody to get their story straight, because I think that first press conference with Max Verstappen could be quite interesting.
It'll be very tasty. And in fact, at Silverstone on Thursday, in the press briefing he had with the Dutch media, you know what the Dutch are like. They just come straight out with it, don't they? And the first question was, Max, there's a lot of stories about you trying to get Christian Horner sacked. Do you know anything about this?
Yeah.
And he was clever in his answer, because he said, I don't know anything about those stories. He didn't say he didn't know anything about trying to get him sacked. He said, I don't know anything about those stories.
Well, his dad's isn't usually backward in coming forward, so I'm sure he'll be issuing a statement, won't he? I would think.
I don't know. I'm not sure. He'd probably keep it. I mean, he's got what he wanted, right? He's probably doing some cartwheels up and down the veterans scans in Amsterdam at the moment, and looking forward to the rest of the season.
They should get Christian Horner's grid walk now, like Martin Brundle does now. Yeah. Christian Horner just walks down, just stands in front of Red Bulls and shakes his head. Tutting.
Oh dear, we'll see. James, a pleasure as always.
Thank you,
very
James.
much indeed.
Always lovely to see you guys. Take care.
There we are. That's James Allen there from motorsport.com. And Christian Horner leaves Red Bull after an incredibly successful period at the team. We turn to cricket next. England have announced their side to take on India in the third test at Lord's tomorrow. And we're going to hear from the skipper, Ben Stokes, and indeed the former England fast bowler and talkSPORT commentator and pundit Steve Harmison. In a few moments' time, we're here with our good friends at Toolstation. You can get thousands of products delivered to you with Fast Track on the Toolstation app. Next stop, Toolstation.
He plays that villain role very well now. It's crying out for a little bit more attention. It comes with a lot of crazy people. I took it personally and it kind of made me rebel a bit more. To be honest, I don't really care anymore. I'm never going to change.
Just a reminder, it's a slightly different drive show today. Live from Switzerland from 4, Adrian Durham and the team bring you England versus the Netherlands at Euro 2025. The Lionesses badly needing a result, ideally a victory tonight. Certainly a draw, but, again, you don't want to be relying on other teams. That's all from 4. We'll be catching up with Adrian a little bit later on and looking ahead to that game. And, of course, Wales in action before that as well against France, and that's over on talkSPORT 2 at 8 o'clock, and PSG Real Madrid at 8 here on talkSPORT, and we'll be with Troy Deeney a little bit later on over in New York ahead of that game. But Jofra Archer's back after 4 years out of Test cricket through injury. He will play against India tomorrow at Lord's. Ben Stokes, the England skipper, had chatted to talkSPORT ahead of that third Test and talked about bringing Archer back.
Just incredibly exciting for England cricket fans, but most importantly I think it's great for Jofra that he's been adamant since his injury problems that this is where he wanted to be back in. He wanted to be out on the field playing for England again, and then when he eventually got back out on the field playing for England, his next goal was to get back into a physical position where he could play and be in contention for Test cricket. So now that day's finally here, it's amazing for us as his teammates, but also for him. And look, I think skill that Joff possesses, we all know what that is. It's all pretty obvious. I think we know what to expect. Well, what we will expect from Joff, which is incredibly skillful and times where he bowls the absolute speed of light. He's a game changer. He's got all the attributes to be one of the all-time greats to bowl for England. So very exciting times this week.
We're watching some footage there while we were hearing from Ben Stokes of him in the nets. Yeah. Big smile on his face. Seems to be enjoying himself, running in nicely. Let's chat to Steve Harmison, part of our top team here at talkSPORT, the former England fast bowler. Hi, Harmy.
Hey, Harmy.
Afternoon, gents.
You're well connected in that dressing room. What's the word from your sources that he's looking in good nick?
Yeah, well, he played at Durham a couple of weeks ago in a Kugaba round game, and they said he bowled in some lively spells, which was good. He got 108 overs, I think there was, in the field. So that's the issue for Jofra, is the time on his feet in the field. But I think what we should be doing and talking about is not about the team aspect of it, and sort of put that to one side for a second and just be thankful that the boy's back playing cricket in the Test arena, because he's had a tough time. He's had a huge amount of injuries. I've been critical of the way he's been looked after medically, because I've said this many times. Jurgen Klopp wouldn't go 4 years without Mo Salah, would he? Neither would Pep Guardiola about Kevin De Bruyne. So there's a question mark there. What I'm over the moon at is whenever I've sort of spoke to Jofra, and that's just a couple of sort of sample sizes, he's always been, to me, wanting to play Test cricket, desperate and hungry to play Test cricket. He's been written off so many times. He's been accused of not wanting to play Test cricket, which I think is quite nonsense. And I think we've just got to marvel the fact that come Thursday morning, he's going to walk out behind Ben Stokes, whether it's with first over of the day, and be thankful that he's back playing Test match cricket. He's a bit like Pat Cummins a few years ago when Pat missed 5 or 6 years of Test match cricket, having horrendous injuries. And look at the career path that Pat Cummins has had. For England fans, and for me, especially as a fast bowler who's been through a few injuries, I really hope that Joff gets that look because he is an unbelievable talent. And a lot of this, boys, is down to his own doing. Because if he wasn't that good, we wouldn't be talking about him.
Oh, yeah.
And plus the fact, if he wanted to, he could go off and just bowl 4 over stints and make a fortune round the world playing franchise cricket and just playing T20. But he clearly wants this, doesn't he?
He does, and I think that's always the hardest part when you're injured, of trying to convince people that you actually want to play Test match cricket. You want to field for 120. Saying that, nobody wants to field for 120. It's the hardest thing in the world. It's the most boring thing in the world as well. But skill sets, I've got no issue with them this week. And a lot of my colleagues are right to say, we would like to have had another game for Sussex. We don't live in the perfect world. What I would say is that, we'll, from a skill set point of view, 4 overs, 5 spells of 4 overs over the course of the first innings, his skill sets will be fine. It'll be as we expect, very, very quick, very potent, and giving Ben Stokes a different type of options. The problem we have is, if he does have to field for 120 overs, where's the body position and what that is running the risk of potentially a further injury down the line. But that's all ifs, buts and maybes. Great to see the big boy back.
Yeah, indeed.
You've got to ask the question, can he get Shubman Gill out? Because that's the problem at the moment, isn't it? Can anybody get him out? But you'd hope, it's going to be baking hot over the weekend and running in at Lords. You hope that if Jofra's up to his old standards, then he'll be able to do that.
It's a nightmare when you come across. You even look at players like that in warm-ups. I've had that many, many times with a player who gets 100 in the first Test match. During my time, there was a couple of instances. Shivnarine Chanderpaul had a great series against us. Mohammad Youssef had a great series against us. And even when you walk past them in warm-ups, you are looking at them thinking, how on earth am I going to get you out? So England will be thinking that. Jofra will be, trying his best. Shubman Gill's in an unbelievable rich vein of form at this moment in time, and he deserves all the plaudits he's getting because he's took your team on, he's captain, and he's been fantastic. England will be hoping for more pace in the pitch. I'm not going to use this as an excuse. It's not an excuse. England should have done better in the game when they won the toss at Edgbaston. Sorry, but the surface was. That's England's kryptonite. If there's a pitch England don't want to play on, it was the one at Birmingham. This hopefully will have a little bit more pace in it, and if it does, then England's prime assets, the big bowlers, i.e. Carson, Stokes and Archer, they'll fancy their chances of being more effective towards getting India's middle order out.
And just a quickie finally, the feeling was it could be Chris Woakes making way, but it's not. It's Josh Tongue. Carson and Woakes are both going to play. You're broadly in agreement with that, Tommy?
Yeah, I am. I know Chris hasn't had the best start of the summer. He didn't last year and he got better and better. And I think England had to weigh up the fact that Chris Woakes averages 13 at Lords, so you run the risk of losing that, and you just hope that the real Chris Woakes, or the one that that has averaged 13 at Lords, turns up. He's a wonderful player. He gives so much balance to the team. I think it was the right thing to leave Tongue out. It was either Tongue or Cars. I think they needed one of them, big bowlers, to hit the deck and hit the deck hard. Josh has done a good job so far finishing the tail off, but this gives us. I think this is England's best bowling attack that you have physically fit and available. Archer, Woakes and Cars. It gives you a little bit of everything, a little bit of Stokes. Bashir is a work in progress, but he has to improve his numbers. For me, this is England's best bowling attack physically they have available. Arguably the best bowling attack they potentially could have available, with the exception of Mark Wood. Yeah. And that, hopefully, on a Lord's pitch, will be good enough to go 2-1 up.
Excellent. Thanks, Army. We'll hear from you tomorrow.
Cheers, boys.
Steve Armisen, part of our top team, bringing that third test at Lords. If you're overseas, you can watch and listen to it all unfold at the talkSPORT YouTube cricket channel.
Yeah, good stuff.
And you can watch our team bring you that if you're overseas. And we'll have regular updates, of course. We'll have the toss for you at 10:30. Gets underway at 11, and we'll have regular updates from Sam Ellard throughout the day here on talkSPORT. But we'll be off to the tennis. We've got some stuff for Lisa in all the fluff around the world of tennis. Some of your emails and texts. And the good news is, I understand we have managed to track down who's responsible for what's been going on the AI front at Wimbledon.
So I've got a lot of questions to answer.
We certainly have. And we'll be doing that and giving you a flavour of our new series, the pH test, which we brought you last week for the first time. And yeah, we'll give you a flavour of what happened last week and try and get you involved in this week. So we'll be doing that just after 3 o'clock. But the sports headlines are next.
Christian Horner has been sacked by Red Bull.
He got sacked basically from the, let's say, the mother company from Austria, Red Bull GmbH. I think the results speak for themselves. I think they have the best driver that has ever driven a Formula One car. And if he's not able anymore to win races, that's a problem.
Dutch journalist Jackie Martins broke the story. Horner's been in charge of Red Bull for over 20 years, leading them to 6 Constructors and 8 Drivers' Championships. talkSPORT's F1 correspondent John Jackson explains it comes a year after he was involved in a texting scandal with a female colleague.
He's been incredibly successful at the top of his game, but obviously there were these allegations that were made which were not upheld by an independent investigation, of his conduct. And there were rumours that, he would maybe not survive that back then. So he has lasted a little bit longer than a lot of people would have thought.
Laurent Mekies, who was in charge of racing bulls, will replace him. Now, after spending over $1 billion on players since Todd Boehly took over, have Chelsea finally signed a proper striker? João Pedro's 2 stunners against his former club, Fluminense, in the Club World Cup fired them into the final. Former Chelsea defender Mario Melchior reckons he's got the aura of a big-time player.
What I like about Pedro was his confidence. If you saw one of the first interviews that he had when he was a Chelsea player, you could see the smile and the confidence that he was boosting in himself and saying, like, I can do the job.
The Lionesses might be just one game into their European title defence, but it's pretty much win or go home against the Netherlands, live on talkSPORT, with coverage beginning from 4 p.m. today. Former Lioness and talkSPORT commentator Tash Dowie wants bold changes from Wiegman, but doesn't think it's going to happen.
In my opinion, I would love to see Serena Wiegman go 4-4-2, put Beaver Jones up front with Russo. I thought she was isolated the other day. The Dutch don't have the pace that the French do as well, so you don't have to worry about that pace in behind or the counter-attack. So I would love to see her more positive, bring in a Grace Clinton as well into that midfield to give that little bit of bite, maybe a Chloe Kelly. She has that aggression. But yeah, we need to be 100% better, otherwise we will be going home.
For more on these stories, head to talksport.com.
Paul Hawksbee, Charlie Baker here on talkSPORT. We're coming up in the second hour today. We'll be joined by the comedian and Newcastle United fan, Kaya Humphreys.
Oh, yeah, nice guy.
Newcastle fans getting cheerier as they start to do a bit of business. Now, Langer looks like a very good buy for them. Talking of transfers, Ben Jacobs will join us. He'll reflect on Chelsea's fine win. That's a good bit of business for them, isn't it? João Pedro.
Very
Could have paid for quite a lot of his transfer fee.
Ground running, yeah.
A very good player. I mean, I didn't doubt for a minute it was a good signing. Troy Dean, his old teammate, of course. We'll catch up with Troy a little bit later on. And Tim Vickery joins us. They wanted to win this competition. They certainly wanted to be in the final, but it wasn't to be. Fluminense beaten last night by Chelsea. And we got some other stories, bit of transfer stuff with Tim. Quite a lot of players heading back to South America from Europe, which didn't really happen very often. But there's a bit more money floating about in Brazil, so that's starting to become a little bit more common than it was. Anyway, and Gabriel Heinze is rocked up as a coach at Arsenal with Mikel Arteta. They were old teammates at PSG. So he's been coaching and managing in South America. So we'll find out a bit more about that from Tim Vickery. And any questions, if you've been linked with a South American player and you want to know a little bit more about them, we'll do our best to put questions to him. talksport.com/H&J. Text to 81089, tweet to TSH&J. Charlie's had a bad toe, arthritic toe, stopped him running in the dad's race yesterday at his daughter's school sports. But he's now bought slippers that you put in the freezer that help an arthritic toe.
Frozen slippers, yeah.
And he said, it's come to this.
Come to this.
I've got me slippers in the freezer.
Yeah. I hope Charlie's freezing slippers have their own shelf. Says Anonymous.
They're in a bag.
They come with a bag.
A sealed bag.
They come with a sealed bag.
Thank goodness for that.
Simon in York a couple of years ago had a wisdom tooth that was impacted and caused a food trap. In order to prevent decay, he had to gouge food out with a pointy end of a dental flossing stick.
And he's thinking it's come to this.
But also every pair of trousers or jacket he puts on has a flossy stick in it.
Yeah.
Like you with your poo bags.
I see. Yeah, that was it. This is, I put my hand in my back pocket earlier on and pulled out a dog poo bag because
very nice.
Every pocket, if you're a dog owner, probably every pocket at some point you've pulled out so I pulled out a poo bag. Maybe it was on a first date.
That'd be
you
nice.
Went there, says,
impressive.
I just get a scented handkerchief out or something, and then you pull out the it's not a good one.
You've got the posh ones there, Paul. I know it's the actual poo bags. I buy nappy bags.
Do you?
I buy scented nappy bags. Because they're cheaper than the actual poo bags.
Is that right? Okay.
You're listening to Poo Bag.
Yeah.
Talk Poo Bag.
Talk Poo Bag. It's an interesting offshoot.
New podcast.
Anyway.
During Prime Minister's questions, Richard's been in touch.
Oh, yeah.
During Prime Minister's questions today, one MP complained that people in Devon were removing their own teeth with pliers. It made me think of Charlie.
You normally pull
That's
one,
nice, isn't it?
If you pull one out on every show, I mean,
in East Devon, if you want to be the mayor,
I can already hear our head of media saying that'd go well on the socials.
It would. And now Charlie's going to pull a tooth.
Charlie, which one are we going for today? I thought I'd do one at the back today, Paul. Take it away, Charlie Baker. Pulling out his own teeth live on air with pliers.
He pulls his own teeth.
Yeah.
I'm not going to read that one out because that's
rude,
about a toilet roll after a curry.
No, we don't.
We don't need that. There we are.
Yeah. Talking of which, did you see that Lewis Hamilton admitted that he'd been getting into the curries and said he was going to have to lose a bit of weight before he got back in the car. Yeah, he's been.
Having a curry and then doing a Formula One race.
On the radio.
Don't feel like those.
That biryani's really repeating on me. I think he means in the week building up, not half an hour before. What do F1 drivers have as a pre-race meal? That must have been on Drive to Survive.
Must have been.
They don't have roly-poly pudding and custard and.
It's not the old Olympic breakfast. They don't pull up a little chef.
Suet pudding, steak and kidney pie. They don't have all of that. They pull up at a little chef. Olympic breakfast. Well, they're not little chefs anymore. If they pull into them, it will make the front page of the tabloids.
I deserved a medal, you wanted to know, because we discussed Truro, Gateshead away.
Yeah.
On the 25th of October.
And I mentioned Darlington in the Freight Rover going down to Torquay one Tuesday evening many moons ago.
Yeah.
I deserve a footballing medal.
Astana v Chelsea in Almaty, Kazakhstan. Been there, Paul. 12th of December 2024. 7,008-mile round trip from London. Wow. 9 hours flight direct. -15 during the game.
That's a holiday, though, isn't it?
But
That's you went,
isn't it?
Basically,
you did a nice trip.
I'm not sure. You had a couple of days in a different country. You didn't go from Darlington and Torquay and back on a Tuesday night for a Freight Rover game, and then probably have to go straight into work.
This was an adventure.
The following day.
Kevin in sunny Berkshire, and the club did give them a key ring.
Oh yeah. What, for going to Astana?
Well, yeah. I don't know if it's the Kazakhstan's. These did or the
they're all Heart Chelsea, aren't they?
I don't know.
Fantastic. Anyway, let's head to Wimbledon. Lisa O'Sullivan first with an update. Lisa, what's going on?
Well, I have to say, John Lennon would say rattle your jewellery because there's some big money in the royal box today. And in fact, Her Majesty Queen Camilla is putting the royal in the box today. We've got Mr. Dean Forbes. I mean, you just say Forbes, and you know what I'm talking about there. But also, we have Vinay Venkatesan.
Oh, yeah.
Is that a name you're familiar with?
Yeah, the Tottenham, that's right, director of... What's his actual role? He's CEO, isn't he? That's right, yeah.
That's correct, yeah. Hugh Grant is in the royal box today, and they're currently watching Mira Andreeva, the number 7 seed, take on Belinda Bencic of Switzerland, who won the Olympic title in Tokyo. She's just back from maternity leave 9 months ago. Baby Bella arrived, and she's been playing some brilliant tennis ever since she came back. But Mira Andreeva absolutely charming the crowds here at Wimbledon. She's just 18 years old. Yesterday, she spent the afternoon watching, or she said coaching, her coach, Conchita Martinez, in the invitational doubles. She even made a sign to cheer her on. It's just a fantastic relationship that those two have. Over on court number 1, Iga Swiatek is finally finding some love for the green stuff. 6-2, 3-love. She's leading Ludmila Samsonova, who didn't know who she was playing until this morning, because she said every time she knows who she's going to play, she just fixates on it and she can't think about anything else. So
that's like me with chips.
Last interview, she was asked in her last interview. Everyone was told, please don't tell her who she's playing. So she only found out, I think, last night. Actually, it was. So. She's 3-love down in the second set and training by set.
Talking of food, Ben Shelton, the US player,
he's great.
He's not a big fan of the full English. He tried it while he was here. The word he used to describe it, garbage. He said it's terrible. We put beans in it. He also didn't like beans on toast as a concept.
Maybe he just doesn't like beans.
I think he seems to have a problem with
but I don't like them in the full English either.
You don't like the bean in the full English, really?
I like tinned tomatoes.
Oh, God. That's even messier. Tin tomatoes.
Also, Ben Shelton wears a white vest. He has his arms out. He wears a white vest. He's going to get beans all down there.
Yeah, of course. That's the trouble, isn't it? Yeah. He doesn't. He have to wear a Tommy Tippy, wouldn't he?
Exactly. Yeah. I enjoyed the Sabalenka v Laura Sigmund game yesterday. Yeah. I don't know if if there's S-housery in tennis,
it was noisy, wasn't it?
But it was all S-housery. It was all little spins and
taking ages. Lisa was telling us they were taking ages to serve
and going to the toilet every 5 minutes. It was really good. I really enjoyed it.
Just need to do my hair.
Just
need to do my hair.
There's a lot of that. It was
actually
great.
At one point Sabalenka was about to serve and Sigmund just turned around and walked away from the baseline. It's like, you can't do... Well, you can, I suppose. But Sabalenka would have been fully within her rights to serve. She just didn't. She really loves to get into the head of her opponent, and it's highly entertaining.
Yeah, very, very. It was great. I loved it. But I've got a bet on Sabalenka and Alcaraz to win, and I had that from the start, so I'm fingers crossed all the way.
Lisa... Alcaraz was amazing yesterday.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Rebecca Cope works for The Telegraph. I don't know her. She may be listening, I don't know. But clearly the editor of the features section said, Rebecca, we need something on Wimbledon. We got a page, we need something. I don't know why she speaks like that, or he does. And she said, leave it with me. So she came up with how to smash a power cardigan like Carlos Alcaraz.
Oh, great,
She saw him in a cardigan, and that was enough for about 800 words. And a couple of pictures of cardigans. 110 quid from Ralph Lauren, £184
They're never cheap,
from
are
Lacoste. They're not cheap.
No.
So basically it says, can you rock the power cardigan look? I wonder.
My dad does. He's 93.
Oh, yeah.
And
great.
he likes to pop it on when the sun comes out and just get an extra layer on. Yeah, he absolutely rocks it.
Yeah, fantastic.
I'm not sure that at 22... Saying that, Carlos Alcaraz does look cool in anything he wears.
Yeah.
You know, the bucket hat isn't here this year. The bucket hat was a big thing. We've seen a lot of Spanish fans wearing red and yellow bucket hats. He has also got, which actually I think he really is rocking, instead, if he's not feeling in a cardigan mood after he's played, he puts on a terry toweling a terry toweling hoodie. And you look at it and you think, oh God, that must be so comfortable.
So nice.
That looks really snuggly and comfy, and it looks like it's had the same kind of washing technique that they have for the fluffy white towels here as well.
Right.
So
Good.
I bet it smells good as well.
Coco Gauff at Paris wore a leather jacket.
Cool.
She had a leather jacket she wore on and off court.
Bit of sweat.
A bit sweaty.
Get a bit of a dab on, wouldn't you? Nah, blimey. Lisa, back to you later.
Pleasure.
Take care, it's Lisa O'Sullivan there. Now, that's because we have a special guest in the world of tennis.
Yeah.
We've hunted down who is responsible for all these AI issues they've been having.
Finally, we're going to meet them.
The Taylor Fritz game yesterday, we had another AI mistake, didn't we? Then we had the one the other day in the...
it was switched off. The other day, and yesterday a ball boy bounced the ball and it went off during a point.
Now, our top team, I think it's only right we take them to task. So let's speak now to the who is responsible for what's been going on AI-wise at Wimbledon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hello, lads. It's me, Raducanu in the mud. One for Martin Keown.
Raducanu in the mud. It's chat. It's ChatGPT. We should have known, shouldn't we?
Raducanu in the mud.
As it was such a bin fire, we should have known.
in charge of the line calls at Wimbledon.
Chat, what went wrong yesterday? Tell us.
Don't ask me, lads. I was in the Pims tent.
Oh, he's in the Pims tent. Can't even have a day off of it, can he? It's a disgrace.
It's not my fault. I keep getting put off by Sabalenka shouting.
Oh, put off by... It is like a bad vent act. Dance's right. You have to repeat it. What do you mean you get put off by
Sabalenka?
What do you mean get back in the box? What do you mean get put off by Sabalenka shouting? So what are you going to do, chat? What are you going to do?
We tried unplugging it and plugging it back in again, but it hasn't worked.
Well, it's always a good starting point with tech, isn't it? Unplug it and plug it back in.
Maybe that's what you did during that point the other day. Yeah.
I mean, sorry, chat. I mean, it is a scandal what's going on, isn't it, at Wimbledon?
Not as big a scandal as 4 strawberries for £2.70. At least Dick Turpin wore a mask.
Yeah, I think we got most of that. we got
very slow today.
Most of that, very
slurry today.
Well, we'll let you go because we know you're a busy man as you're in charge of all the AI at Wimbledon. So, okay, we'll
get back to it.
Catch up with you at the start of the season, chat. Thank you very much.
Thanks, lads. Looking forward to next season.
Oh, yes.
Thomas Frank will be gone by Christmas.
Oh, wow. Thanks, mate.
Torquay are going down Charles.
Oh, he hasn't changed, has he? Charles. Why can't he say Charlie? Why does he always say Charles? Like some term. Anyway.
If you called me Charlie now, I'd be disappointed.
This now makes perfect sense where they've had so many tech issues. It's our old mate ChatGPT who takes us on during the season. Is in charge. There we are.
Nice.
So get back in the box. So it's we're going to be talking.
Standing on my foot.
Yeah. OGCG, Okay. Anyway, Kai Humphries, comedian, Newcastle fan, joins us for a chat. In Eddie we trust, and he's starting to do a bit of business by the look of it. We're here with Toolstation. Get fast track delivery in as little as 30 minutes on the Toolstation app. Next stop, Toolstation.
He plays that villain role very well now. It's crying out for a little bit more attention. It comes with a lot of crazy people. I took it personally and it kind of made me rebel a bit more. To be honest, I don't really care anymore. I'm never going to change.
Night of football on talkSPORT. Club World Cup from 8. PSG Real Madrid. At the same time, Wales take on France in Euro 2025. And before that, of course, crunch game for England after that defeat to France. Ideally, they need a victory today to keep it in their own hands. And let's cross then to Zurich. Adrian Durham is already in the stadium to present our coverage of the game from 4. Hi, Aid.
Morning, sun is shining, I'm in the shade, so everything's okay.
That's good. So yeah, this is a biggie. I mean, the girls have been talking about, they know what they've got to do, but it's not going to be easy because the Dutch are a good side, aren't they?
Frankly, Paul and Charlie, I'm scared.
Yeah,
I mean, it's horrendous to think that a week in to the tournament, after 2 games, England, the reigning champions, could be going out, and I actually think they actually will go out. I hate to say it because I think they're better than they showed on Saturday, but they were so bad on Saturday. I don't know how you recover from being that bad and then turn it around performance-wise and result-wise against a really decent team. We're not talking about also-rans here. The Netherlands are a brilliant side. They won the Euros before England won it, under Sarina Wiegman as well. So this is a side with some good players who can do some damage. And if England play anything like they did on Saturday, it's all over.
What makes you fearful that they can't raise their game again? Is it the fact there's kind of key personnel missing?
I don't know. It's the fundamentals of what went wrong on Saturday. Sarina said afterwards that the players didn't follow her game plan. Well, why on earth not? Why are they not listening to the manager that won them the Euros? Has she lost her touch? Is she not resonating with them anymore? Has she lost her voice? Do they not take her seriously? Are some of the younger players who haven't been blended into the first team frustrated because she hasn't managed to get them in the first team? And they probably should be in the first team, some of them. You know, some of the more senior players, are they a bit fed up with it? Do they think they're better than they actually are? Do they think they run the place? The players who pulled out, have they had an impact on the players that are still at the Euros who came out here? I don't know. That performance on Saturday was so inexplicable. They've got to turn it around, and then, you know, people will give them the respect that they will deserve if they turn it around and get the win that will give them that massive chance of going through. But, you know, if they go out after 2 games, they've got to expect some scrutiny because it will be coming their way for sure.
Yeah, and the manager will be under pressure. I mean, you know, she's had pretty, you know...
It just feels like a disconnect. That's what it is, just between players, the manager, and the new players and the old players, and just
losing some key players and players that would have made a difference had they been on the pitches to settle everything down, like Earps and Bright and others. They're hard to replace players like that.
Well, you mentioned Millie Bright there, and she's still doing this podcast, which, if she was with the team, she wouldn't be able to carry on doing that podcast during the tournament. But she's not with the team. She pulled out. She's doing the podcast. And she mentioned Emma Hayes. When talking about the France game, she came out and said, well, Emma Hayes wouldn't have done this. She'd have made subs sooner. I'm thinking, well, what's that got to do with anything? You know, that is going 2-footed lunge on Sarina Wiegman. So, and it's kind of disrespectful to the players that are here mid-tournament to throw that out there, and I was baffled by that. But that shows that you're spot on. There is a disconnect when one of your senior players, who was captain in the World Cup final, who won the Euros before that, one of your senior players who's not here, comes out and says something like that. And, you know, when you've lost your first game at the tournament, that shows there's something seriously wrong within this England camp. You know, it kind of disappointed me to hear her say that. I don't mind people having opinions on the games. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But to throw in Emma Hayes' name when she's the manager of the USA, hasn't managed England. I just it kind of really kind of disappointed me that she did that, to be honest. But that's the way it is. There is a disconnect. You're right, and that actually could mean the end for Serena Wiegmann. Mark Bullingham said, she will stay no matter what, but he kind of possibly envisaged that they might go out after 2 games. So I think there's a rethink, bearing in mind what happened after that first game, which was fundamentally the players didn't do what she asked them to do. Well, why was that?
Well, let's hope for the best. Adrian, we'll hear from you later. Thanks very much.
Cheers.
Adrian Durham there, live from Zurich, 4 o'clock. Here he takes over from us, builds up the 5 o'clock kickoff, England versus the Netherlands, Wales in action from 8, and we'll be chatting to Lucy Staniforth, the former England and Villa midfielder, talking England and Wales just before 4 o'clock. But joining us now, I'm sure quite an upbeat Newcastle fan as they start to do a bit of business.
He's always upbeat. Kai's never not upbeat.
It is a comedian and Toon fan, Kai Humphreys. Hi, Kai.
Hey, Kai.
Yeah, right. I am upbeat, but not as upbeat as I was on the 17th of March last time I was on this station.
I was going to say,
I hadn't even been to bed last time I was talking on it.
Yeah.
Hope you're more sober than you were that day at the moment, Kai.
After that day at Wembley.
Mate. I'm still on a cloud from it, but I still pinch myself that it happened. I think it was just like 2 days ago. I said to my wife, I was like, "We won the cup."
Yeah, fantastic.
Out of nowhere, it just creeps back up on us. I'm like, class, brilliant.
Last time we Charlie was chatting about you on the show, Kai, was off an old Newcastle shirt, the kind of Salez, Warren Barton, David Ginola era striped jersey, which I think they've kind of brought back, haven't they?
There's a retro version of it,
I'm just getting a hold of one of them signed by the Entertainer. So I found it on eBay. I was looking for the original and I found one signed. The guy didn't know what he was selling.
Yeah.
And it had loads of autographs on it, and you couldn't work out the autographs. So we were. Did you find out who they were?
Do you know what? I found most of them. There's a couple of them that they're still eluding us, but there's a bunch of them that I've got. I think I've got about 90% of them now.
Wow,
Chivas is on there. That's the one that
That's
counts.
the one you want, isn't it? Yeah.
Would you ever wear that? I mean, it looked like the kids have scribbled on. Would you wear it for a game?
No. You know what? I've got a signed Keegan one, and I wore that for a TV appearance about Newcastle. I slipped it on for that once, but I wouldn't sweat in it. I wouldn't run around in it.
You don't want to wash it, do you? I've washed that. I washed that shirt for you. Got all them marks off.
We've had a lot of calls like that over the years.
You got a special out, Kai. It's called Gallivanting. You're a brilliant stand-up comedian. You travel the world. Tell us about it.
It's about to drop 19th of July. It's going to come out on YouTube for free. I recorded it in my hometown in Newcastle, so I travelled all over the world with this job, and I've toured the show all over the world. And when I come back home to Newcastle, I got it in the can, and it's going to be released there for everyone to see. And it's about travel. It's a tour journal, and it's about perspective and stuff. It's a really fun show. I just made sure I'm going to tell a bunch of stories, make them as funny as I can.
I suppose when you're doing that, you're doing gigs abroad. And you probably are doing a lot of stuff for expats as well. But there's probably times when you think, well, this is going to be dialed its backside.
Yeah, I have to perform with my phone voice.
Yeah.
If I Paul Geordie, I have to translate myself into English when I'm performing.
Give us one of the far-flung places you've played then.
Yeah.
I've done tours of India, which I talk about in the show.
Wow,
I've done a gig in Moscow to an audience of people who half of them didn't even understand a word of English, so they had headphones on, and there was a guy on stage with me in a soundproof box.
Like the UN.
Yeah, translating my Geordie into English and then into Russian. Honestly, it was before everything kicked off. I wasn't entertaining the family or anything.
Yeah.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and when you did the show in Newcastle and you filmed it, did you go full Geordie, or were you fully aware that you had to go out for a national audience?
It's a fine balance, because you're aware that it's going out to an international audience. You know there's going to be some internationals in the crowd, but you still want to stay true to your roots and sound like you know.
Yeah.
So I have to really find the balance of being understood, but not saying mum instead of ma'am, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Gallivanting on YouTube. Kai Humphries
from the 19th.
Yeah.
Are you pleased with that, Alenga? Good bit of business.
That's great.
You know what? I really am. When we're trying to sign him on the last day of the transfer window last year, and I felt it come across a bit desperate, when you're younger and you're on a night out and you try and pull in the chippy because you haven't pulled it.
Yeah.
It was that kind of energy. And then when you saw the season he had for Forest, and you were like, we could have actually done with that this season.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been a smart purchase, actually. We just looked at it as desperate at the time because of how late in the game it was. So now I think he's got end product. I like him. And he's got to be rapid in that front three.
Yeah.
I love Jacob Murphy. His contributions have been phenomenal, but just that extra little bit of pace in the break's going to be wonderful.
Yeah, excellent. We wish you well with the special, Kai. Thanks very much for joining us.
Cheers, man. Thank you.
It's on YouTube. It's free. It's called Gallivanting.
Yeah, he's a funny man.
And some a tour diary, as he said, of doing gigs around the world. And we'll be talking transfers beyond Elanga very shortly. And looking back on Chelsea's performance last night. And indeed, in this same section, we will commiserate with Tim Vickery, who's probably feeling it today in Rio after Fluminense's defeat. They are out of the Club World Cup. That's all to come in the next half hour.
Christian Horner has been sacked by Red Bull.
He got sacked basically from the, let's say, the mother company from Austria, Red Bull GmbH. I think the results speak for themselves. I think they have the best driver that has ever driven a Formula One car. And if he's not able anymore to win races, that's a problem.
Dutch journalist Jackie Martins broke the story. Horner's been in charge of Red Bull for over 20 years, leading them to 6 Constructors and 8 Drivers' Championships. talkSPORT's F1 correspondent John Jackson explains it comes a year after he was involved in a texting scandal with a female colleague.
He's been incredibly successful at the top of his game, but obviously there were these allegations that were made which were not upheld by an independent investigation, of his conduct. And there were rumours that, he would maybe not survive that back then. So he has lasted a little bit longer than a lot of people would have thought.
Laurent Mekies, who was in charge of racing bulls, will replace him. Now, after spending over $1 billion on players since Todd Boehly took over, have Chelsea finally signed a proper striker? João Pedro's 2 stunners against his former club, Fluminense, in the Club World Cup fired them into the final. The Lionesses might be just 1 game into their European title defence, but it's pretty much win or go home against the Netherlands, live on talkSPORT, with coverage beginning from 4 p.m. today. For more on these stories, head to talksport.com.
Yes, it is. Paul Hawksbee and Charlie Baker here on talkSPORT. We brought you the first of a new series, a little section called the PH Test.
Yes.
Charlie had the title and he wanted to find something to bolt onto it, and he did. He called it the PH Test. This is how it all kicked off last week. I'll give you a flavour of what we're looking for today.
Won't tell you story.
Good afternoon, Patrick, the Liverpool fan.
Hello, Patrick.
Good afternoon.
Are you a Liverpool fan, Patrick?
Yes, he is. Yeah, he just says that. Look, it says it on the screen.
Yeah. How long you been a Liverpool fan?
About 50 years.
Will you pass the PH test?
Here we go, Patrick.
Okay, so I went for a job interview, and I shook the first two people's hands, and the third person's hand, I shook it, but it came off in my hand.
Oh, no. How did you style that out, Patrick, if you can possibly style it? What did you do?
Well, basically, I just sat on the table and sat down.
Did you get the job, Patrick?
Yeah, Patrick.
No, I did not.
I like Patrick, and
Did
I like
it pass
his story.
the PH test?
He's in the Hall of Fame.
Get in.
Good man. Congratulations, Patrick.
Who's next?
Matthew. Hello, Matthew.
Hello, Matthew.
How you doing, guys? You all right?
Yeah, good. We'll see if you pass the PH test.
From 99 to 2004, I was filled with the Fox for Leicester City Football Club.
Okay, right, yeah.
And I was told at that time that Robbie Fowler had been arrested for punching me. Turns out he actually punched Cousin Dennis.
Who's Cousin Dennis? Is he another mascot? It's a great story, Matthew, but you haven't made it in. But God bless you. Thank you very much for calling. It's a no. Yeah, hello, Ryan.
Ryan?
Are you there?
Hello, it's Brian.
Oh, okay. Brian.
Very good. All right, Brian.
Give us your story.
See if you can get past the PH test.
Going over to Chelsea v Everton.
Yeah.
Mike Parry was going on all morning about
how to get to Everton.
Wayne Rooney's going to stuff us and everything.
Yeah.
So I think we beat him 4-0. So I jumped on his back and gave him a kiss on the side of the cheek. He started screaming.
He jumped on Mike Parry's back.
Mike Parry. His exact words were, he was attacked by a deranged gorilla.
Brian, you were close.
Did it pass the PH test?
It didn't quite pass the PH test, but Brian, God bless you. Thank you very much. So, Patrick's the only one in. We get the idea. We just want your best story.
Your best story, that's all it is.
Our old pal, Matt Lorenzo, the TV presenter and documentary maker, West Ham fan, I think drew a very unfair comparison to something called Graham Norton's Red Chair.
What's that? Never heard of it.
He thought there was some sort of intellectual property situation. I mean,
don't know what you're on about.
Matt, really? I
don't know what you're on about.
I've never heard of it.
So Paul Hawksbee is the best storyteller in my opinion in the country.
True. That's not true.
Best storyteller in the country is your story, your best story, your number one story that you'll go to when you meet new people.
Yeah.
Your best story. Will it pass the PH test? Will it get into the Paul Hawksbee Hall of Fame?
Phone us now. We'll take three people here just after 3 o'clock. 03717 22 3344. It's 03717 22 3344. It's a phrase I don't use very often because one bloke thought we were going to take him to air races. We're going to take three people to air. And he said, I've always wanted to go there. Seriously. Anyway, 03717 22 3344. We just need
your best story.
Your best story.
Your opener.
Will you enter the Hall of Fame? Let's talk transfers and a bit of Club World Cup now with Ben Jacobs over in the States. Good afternoon, Ben.
Good afternoon. How are you guys?
Yeah, Not too bad. Let's start with Chelsea. A very solid performance, and João Pedro, I think it's fair to say, has hit the ground running from a Chelsea point of view.
Yeah, unbelievable. 2 fantastic goals against his boyhood club, Fluminense. The first, a curling effort into the top right corner from outside the box. And the second, just a striker's finish. Lovely diagonal pass from Enzo Fernandez. Head down, pace, emphatic finish. They always look better, don't they, when they come off the crossbar. And Chelsea now find themselves with the best part of £80 million, the opportunity to win another 7.5 million if they beat either Bayern or PSG in the final, and a very productive tournament in terms of football, in terms of finances. And naturally, people will say, with the money that they've earned, they've paid for Pedro or Gittins plus Delap, or they've paid for one of their new signings and their UEFA fine. So Chelsea will be absolutely delighted going to the final. And if they win it, they'll get that gold badge on their shirt for 4 years.
Now, there's stories emerging that Tottenham are making a play for Johan Visser at Brentford. It looks like Mbeumo's off to Manchester United, Norgard to Arsenal. I mean, this struck me as a deal that they wouldn't want to do, but it seems there's a bit of substance to this.
Yeah, there is. Tottenham are weighing up a move for the Brentford forward, Johan Visser, and Brentford's position is they don't want to lose Brian Mbeumo and Visser in the same window. So there's pressure on Manchester United now to maybe get a deal done faster knowing that the two players' futures may be intertwined. There has been no third formal bid yet for Mbumo. Manchester United and Brentford are not far apart. A lot of the issues are around the structure, the add-ons, the payment terms, and so on. But fundamentally, if Tottenham can't get Mbumo, but can quickly put an offer in for Wissa, my understanding is that Wissa is open to that move. And then it would definitely make getting Mbumo more complicated, because Brentford, with the Norgard money as well that you reference, would not be in a position where they need financially to sell both. And they certainly won't want to lose both, especially when you consider that Keith Andrews is in his first senior management role. And Brentford have been here before. When Ivan Toney left, that was supposedly a big hole as far as goals in the side. And yet who stepped up? Wissa and Mbumo. If you remove Wissa and Mbumo from that Brentford side with a new and inexperienced manager, it would put them in a very difficult position heading into the new Premier League season. So I'd be surprised if it's Mbumo and Wissa departing. And therefore, if Manchester United want to avoid any surprises, they might have to get a move on, because Spurs are serious about Wissa.
Now, Arsenal have looked to be in the box seat for Eberechi Eze, but there's stories today suggesting both he and Christopher Nkunku, which is understanding because of his experience in Germany, are attracting interest from Bayern.
Yeah, Christopher Nkunku and Bayern could be one to watch, because this was a story also in January. At that point, Chelsea quite liked Matis Tell, who's now a permanent Spurs player, and Bayern liked Nkunku, but the valuation was too high, £60 million or more. Now we're seeing a situation where Nkunku's putting himself in the shop window a bit. He's been starting Chelsea games. He's had his opportunity, but still the expectation is he leaves because João Pedro's come in. Chelsea might even add another attacker, especially if Nkunku and Noni Madueke goes. And Arsenal have started to make their formal contact now with Chelsea regarding
do you make of Arsenal's business if they get Gyökeres over the line? They've got Zubimendi. I mean, two really good signings. Madueke as well. I think that's a really good signing,
Let's talk Gyökeres and Zubimendi to start off with. So we spoke to Arsenal fans. There was an Arsenal fan that was losing his mind, about 10 days ago?
Yeah.
So when, the beginning of the month, we're saying sit tight, the window's still open. And this is football. All football fans, this is a message. The window's not shut. When the window shuts, there's 10 days before, if you haven't got the players, then you might have a little bit of a wobble. Arsenal fans are the best at it. In fact, that's not fair. All football fans are the best at it, but Arsenal will appear this summer the best at it because they're worried. They've seen what's happened in the past. They've seen the striker last 2 seasons. Hasn't happened. They brought in Kai Havertz. Kai's not a number 9. I've said that all along. He's not a number 9.
No.
He's a brilliant footballer and can show moments of individual brilliance. He ain't a number 9. He's not that player. Don't hang your hat on that number 9 because he's not that player.
No.
He can do brilliant stuff. He needs someone to play off. He's in between the two. Gyökeres is someone they need. He's an out-and-out number 1, number 9, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Arsenal fans should be really relieved and excited about what this boy can bring, right? No one knows what he can do in the Premier League. The league's different, Jay.
Yeah, I know.
Everyone talks about what he's going to do, how he's going to play.
Well, Nunes ripped it up at Benfica, wasn't he?
You spend money, right, in the Premier League. It doesn't guarantee you're going to get that player. We have to wait and see how that player develops.
Yeah.
From what we've seen of Florian Wirtz and Gyökeres, there's no reason why at the clubs they're at, especially Liverpool, right? They're the best side in the country. Arsenal come close. They keep getting close. Always the bridesmaid. He might be that player that take him over the edge, getting there. Partey's left, right? Zubimendi's got to come in. So they've replaced like for like or something similar to that. In terms of Madueke, right? I'm a fan of Madueke, right? He gets a lot of stick from Chelsea fans.